Hit me.
From Studio P in Sausalito, the home of the hit, it's time for...
Succotash.
Yes, Succotash, the comedy soundcast featuring snippets from comedy.
Soundcast.
And also interviews with comedians, comedian soundcasters, and other showbiz folk. And now, here's your host, internationally recognized comedy soundcaster, Marc Hershon.
Thanks, Bill. What? Hey, Bill, you have any plans for Thanksgiving? Bill? Man, that guy doesn't waste any time getting out of here, does he? Hi, I'm Marc Hershon, and happy Thanksgiving week to you. Our little feast for you with this episode 280 is pretty neat, although you are going to have to work a little bit for it, I'm afraid. More about that in a minute. First, though, did you get the chance to hear the previous episode 279 entitled 3 for the Road and helmed by our every other weekly host, Tyson Sainer? It was a doozy, a movie-induced triple banger of a show featuring clips from Blood and Black Rum podcast, I Finally Watched, and the Screen Drafts soundcast. You can still grab it from our home site at succotashshow.com, but also pretty much anywhere else that soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded, like Apple and Google Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, Amazon Music, Audible, and so forth. For this week's installment, I have a chat with comedian, writer, producer, soundcaster, Dana Gould. He's written for The Simpsons. He wrote and produced 3 seasons of Stan Against Evil, a great little show on IFC, which you can now find on Hulu, and the 2nd season of a YouTube series he produces and hosts, Hanging with Dr. Z, in which he plays Dr. Zaius from the original Planet of the Apes movies, now hosting his own TV show. That's about to drop next February. He's been hosting his own soundcast, the Dana Gould Hour, for a number of years, and just a couple of weeks ago, a documentary comedy film that Dana made with Bobcat Goldthwait dropped on streaming called Joyride. We first got to know each other back in the glory days of the stand-up comedy boom in San Francisco in the 1980s, and as he was just appearing at the Punchline in San Francisco this past weekend, we got a chance to sit down and catch up. Now, I mentioned you were going to have to work for this episode, and here's what I mean. The audio quality for our interview is incredibly poor. Piss poor. Totally sucks. Not sure why, except we decided to meet at a North Beach cafe to have our chat, and there was music piped in. They wouldn't turn it down, and loud customers were clattering their silverware and stuff nearby. So big apologies. I've done the best I can to clean things up and even stuff out, but it's pretty hard to hear in spots, and my big apologies for that. We'll get to my chat with Dana Gould in just a moment after this word from our longtime make-believe sponsor, Henderson's Pants, and their all-new holiday pants.
Season's greetings, friends, from me, Bill Haywatt, and everyone at Henderson's Pants. Now, although this is supposed to be the happiest time of the year, it's also a time for frayed nerves, temper tantrums, and road rage. And now there's all this brouhaha about what to even call the events around the winter solstice. Well, far be it from Henderson's Pants to ruffle any feathers, so you won't be hearing us uttering the C word anytime soon, which is why Henderson's is introducing their holiday pants just in time for this festive season. Intentionally non-denominational, Henderson's holiday pants are just what the discriminating celebrant is wearing this year. Perfect for office parties, family get-togethers, or late-night shopping sprees, these snappy trousers are designed to honor every persuasion of winter celebration. How can one pair of pants do all of that, you might ask? Simple, we might answer. Because these holiday pants are made by a special group of Amish craftsmen in a barn covered with hex signs in the middle of Pennsylvania Dutch country. They weave the sturdy cotton twill fabric themselves before stitching each pair together by hand. These humble tailors have no holiday celebration, no electricity, and no alcohol. They literally live for the opportunity to craft each and every pair of Henderson's holiday pants, and they don't care if it's Hanukkah, Kwanzaa, or that holiday around the God Baby with the decorated pine tree and the name that makes some people so very angry. Originally designed for Ebenezer Scrooge, Hermie the Elf, and the Grinch that stole Christmas. Henderson's holiday pants are available wherever there's a dude dressed like Santa outside, ringing a bell and begging for your spare change. Happy holidays from Henderson's, makers of fine trousers and pantaloons since 1 AD. And now back to Succotash.
What was Goldthwait talking about on the...
Well, it was a.
Hopefully they were plugging our movie.
Oh, he plugged it a number of times. He did
an amazing job.
And I was trying to get a chance to see it before we got a chance to talk, but I did so busy I didn't get a chance to. But I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's actually really good. We toured together just because we wanted to, like, you know, we both are old men who, and it's like, you know, like, let's go on the road together. We don't have to just be sitting by yourself in Dearborn, Michigan for a weekend. And so, like, between your draw and my draw, we can probably do rock clubs, like one night of a 300, 400 seater. And we did. It worked, and it was really fun. And it was just really fun. But what we would do is we'd go on at the beginning together and flip a coin, and then whoever would win would close. And then we just found that the people liked it much better when we were on stage together, and that part of the show kept getting longer and longer and longer. And so we just said, let's just try to stay on stage the whole time. And it worked instantly. And, you know, I know his act, he knows my act, and we would converse, and then, like, I'd see him getting close to something, or he'd see me getting close to something, or I knew one thing led to another thing. And just we'd go, and the shows would go like 2 hours.
And is that what Joyride captures, is the two of you?
Yeah, so Joyride is that over 3 or 4 shows, but also traveling in between the gigs and archival stuff, like, because we used to hate each other's guts, and we talk about that extensively, and we go into our childhoods, and we have, like, home movie footage.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's like, you know, it's like
that's
stuff
great.
About my family of origin, stuff about Bob's family of origin, me working with footage of me and Bob Hope trying to film a commercial, footage of Bob burning down the Tonight Show. Like, we have all that because it's a documentary. It's fair use.
And the car accident.
The car accident, there's photos of it.
Yeah.
There's no video.
But that was like mid gig, right? I mean,
we were driving into the venue to film the first night, and we had to take 6 months off to recover from the car accident. And then we just had planned to do a concert show, and then COVID hit, and so Bob had all this time, and he discovered this other movie in it. It's all Bob. I mean, I give him full credit. He's a really brilliant.
Well,
he's a brilliant filmmaker. He really is.
Yeah. Well, on Brett Goldstein's podcast, he goes into gets into the tech part of it, about how he shot it, why you guys had cameras on stage, and how he wanted to get that feel.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any other stand-up special.
That's what he was saying. He made a joke about that. He said, you know, you watch these stand-up specials where all of a sudden the director decides, well, let's show what it's like from the really shitty scenes. Dana Carvey once said, Elias says, what member of the audience is literally flying over the rest of the audience while you're doing your show? I've never seen that angle before.
I did a special where Robin asked me, was that shot on a phone?
But it must have been great to have him kind of in the command chair, so to speak, because of his history of directing and stuff.
And I had no, like, I'm a writer, and I should be writing right now. That's how you know I'm a writer, because I'm not writing. But I don't have any urge to direct, so it's really great.
No, but when you did Stand Against Evil, you had a big controlling hand on that, right? But did you direct any of those episodes?
I didn't. I kind of directed. I mean, like, I would block scenes. I mean, I worked with Rob Cohen, who's like my partner and professional. I could do better than him. But you know, Rob and I are like Bob and I. We don't have to talk. We just like you know we get it. Share a brain. And so you know, in TV, the exec producer is is the final say. So it was, Rob did the hard stuff, and then I got to come in the last minute. And really, what I really did on Stand Against Evil was modulate performance and sometimes block out a scene if it wasn't working or popping. And so that was really good. I don't know lenses. I don't know like a 20 or a 50 or what the benefit of this lens is to that one. And
you can say what the feel you're looking for.
Yeah, but I don't know like a long lens will give you a more intimate feel.
No, but then your director of photography can tell. Oh yeah, you want a 70 or whatever.
Yeah, I did direct one thing once, and I found it really boring. And my DP basically directed it, and has gone under a great career as a director. Every time I see him, he's like, "By the way, thank you."
Please. The closest I ever got to directing something was I was on the set of this Halloween movie I wrote for the Hallmark Channel.
What was that called?
It's called Monster Makers.
Oh, great!
And it had
had
Adam Baldwin and. Who else was in that? Linda Blair.
Oh, yeah.
Was in there.
She's a good egg.
Yeah. And the director was a guy who came from, most directors are editors or he was a stuntman.
That's great.
Do you remember the $6 Million Man episode with the Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Not not Richard Kiel though. When Bigfoot reprises in the thing, and whenever you actually, well, he was the stuntman who was the Bigfoot for all the shit Richard Kiel can't do.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and so that's where he came from. So we're doing this scene. We're in this living room with these characters.
So he's a big old guy.
Oh yeah. Oh, and George Kennedy is in the movie. He plays a retired film director in the movie. So we're shooting this scene.
That's crazy.
And he turns, and this David Cass is the guy's name. He turns to me and he goes, "Well, what'd you think of that, Mark?" He's a guy from Texas. I go, "Oh, that was really good." He goes, "Well, what would you do different?" I go, "Well, I don't know. I think you did everything right. I mean, if those guys came from over there, it'd be kind of interesting." He goes, "Everyone back to one. The writer thinks we should redo the scene." I go, "What the fuck are you throwing me under the bus for, you asshole?"
Was he doing it to be funny, or
he was kind of doing it to set, because I had learned my lesson from the first movie I did where. My producer said, "You can be on the set, but we don't let writers on the set. We usually let them come for a day."
And I understand that.
Yeah, it says, "You can come, you got to pay for your own way, you got to pay for your own hotel room. We'll give you our rate." I go, "Okay." We're shooting in San Diego. And he says, "But if the director says anything, you're gone."
Yeah.
All right. So I knew how to behave myself. I've been on film sets before. And after that, there were a couple things where I actually literally saved like days of shit.
Yeah, well, that's what you're going to get a producer credit too.
Yeah. But anyway, so just so funny the guy throws me under the bus like that. It's like, oh man. So
and it's hard because it is. There's nothing more boring than a perfectly realized script because it becomes a different thing. There's no life in the script. It is literally a blueprint. There are classic examples of, I'm sure you know the story about, it's too early in the morning. Who wrote The Big Sleep? Raymond Chandler.
Yes.
And the screenplay was written by another giant writer. The screenplay was written by a Southern novelist that worked in Hollywood for years. He's portrayed as a drunk in Barton Fink.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, that guy, William Faulkner.
Yes.
And I'm hoping those names are right. I know it's Raymond Chandler. Possibly William Faulkner. Highly likely William Faulkner. William Faulkner's writing a script for The Big Sleep. And he calls up Raymond Chandler. And he goes, "Mr. Chandler, it's Bill Faulkner. I'm working on your novel, and it's just brilliant. And I'm really honored to be working on it, sir. But I have one question. I'm near the end here, and I can't figure out why the butler was drowned in the car at the beginning of the movie." And Chandler said, "I gotta call you back." So he calls back in 2 days and goes, Yeah, that's not supposed to be in there." That's from an old draft. But it's in there.
That's brilliant.
It's in there. You can see it today.
Oh my God, that's brilliant.
Yeah, that's
what's in there.
I love that stuff.
Oh my gosh. So that experience of
I love this.
oh yeah, and it's always that way. It's always when it gets down to it, it's a guy who didn't know what he was doing, or it's a guy who said, "Oh yeah, I gave you the wrong pages."
Yeah,
it's just
or just like I have a little article that I write for this new thing called Bulletin. I do 2 little blog posts a week, 700 words, just obscure film knowledge and just weird film stories. It's called Cinemorph, and it's just because I love that stuff, and it's all just weird, accidental stuff.
Yeah.
It's just stories that I find utterly fascinating. Like that wasn't supposed to happen. This is what happened, really. And what was the one I just wrote about? Yeah, Al Adamson and Sam Sherman, the B-movie guys from the 60s and 70s, who did like Blood of Ghastly Horror and things like that. Blood of Ghastly Horror was 5 movies before it was Blood of Ghastly Horror. It was Echo of Terror, and that didn't work, and then it was Psycho a Go-Go, and then they reshot some more, and it became Fiend's Electronic Brain. It actually got released, but it didn't do that well, so they added more footage. It became Blood of Ghastly Horror, which made money. And then the next movie they made was they shot Al Adamson's father was a cowboy star. Denver Dixon. He did like movie cowboy stuff.
yeah.
So he knew all these old cowboy guys.
Oh, okay.
It's the late 60s, and they needed a location for their movie. So, George Spann is a friend of mine. So they went out to the
Spann
Spann
Ranch.
Ranch. And there's all these hippies living on the ranch. We kept having to kick them off the set. Literally kicking the Manson family off the set.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it's just amazing. And then he ended up basically Al got murdered in a way that was like right out of one of his movies.
Oh my God.
The handyman came to believe he was Al.
No.
Killed Al, buried him under the hot tub.
It was going to take his place.
It basically did.
Oh my God.
Yeah, and the brother was like, no, I would just take off like that.
Well, you had
I mean, it's crazy stuff. And it's just like, yeah, it's all real.
a recent episode of the Dana Gould Hour. You had Jeff Abraham on with
Lieberman.
No. With the book about the deaths.
Oh, Jeff Abraham. Yeah, of course.
Yes.
I was thinking Jeff Lieberman.
Yeah.
The director.
Yeah. No.
Yes, Jeff Abraham and his partner. The show won't go on.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's just I'm just referencing it because of that sort of obscure showbiz thing.
I didn't know of Nick Lowe because Goldthwait just saw Nick Lowe. I was like, I got a story about Nick Lowe for you.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I don't understand.
Yeah, and then was electrocuted, or he electrocuted himself, right? And then came back to life.
Yeah, in the car, brought him back to life in the ambulance, and then like literally in the pub drinking to Nick, and then he walked in. What's up?
So it's funny that the things that, at least that I'm aware of that you do, taps into these things that you love, right?
Yeah.
So I mean, obviously things that you create do, but even the way you've got guests on your show and things like that, it's all kind of this.
Yeah, my cat is always my wife. Will be. She's like, you need bigger guests. You need to get, like Cat Williams. I'm just I don't get paid to do my podcast. I don't really make a profit on it. I make enough money to pay the people that make it, but it is not a profit venture. It's just keeps me out there, keeps me engaged, and people like it.
Right.
It keeps my fan base engaged and allows me to do other stuff because of that. Yeah. And I have on who I want to have on. I talk about stuff I want to talk about, and it goes from there. Yeah.
Well, that's the beauty of it, because now podcasts have reached a level of almost like competing talk shows where you can hear Tom Hanks on 8 shows this week because he's got a movie coming out. Right. So it's like, well, you could do that, but
they'll be doing WTF soon, I'm sure.
Oh yeah. But it's like, well, what about these people that don't get that kind of exposure? But you're not even doing it to expose these people. You do it because you enjoy a conversation with
and it's
somebody.
My show is set up like I designed it like what would I want it to feel like it's 1966. I kind of like that, so there's bongos and I just kind of like that kind of beatnik, surf beatnik kind of era, and before the 60s got spooky, and I just talk about stuff that I like to talk about with people I find interesting, and it's more of a mood. It's more of a mood piece than anything else.
Yeah. The other thing that I just was completely delighted by was Hanging with Dr. Z, which is just...
doing notes on season 2 yesterday.
Yeah, well, I'm happy to say I believe I kicked a little bit into the kitty for season 2. Absolutely.
Did you get whatever you bought yet? You sent out a bunch of stuff.
I think I did. I can't keep track of everything, but
that was very a surprise to me.
Which part?
The response.
Oh, really?
I thought 12 people would watch it. Yeah.
Well, I think it's first of all, just the idea itself is just so mesmerizingly bizarre.
That's well put.
I mean, because it's like it's like 8 different layers of things.
It is an onion. It is an onion
for those listeners who don't know what Hanging with Dr. Z is, it's Dana Gould as Dr. Zaius from the original Planet of the Apes, hosting a 60s style talk show, 60s or 70s style talk show, 69. And then I don't know if the way you guys shot was because of the pandemic, where you're just in a studio by yourself with a guest on a monitor.
Yeah, it was a very space ghost influence. Yeah, that was for COVID safety.
Yeah.
And we shot it. It's all green screen, which you'd never know. The guy who put it together was quite brilliant. And Dr. Z, it is Dr. Zaius. I'm wearing the makeup. It's exactly what they had in the movie. The joke wouldn't work.
Yeah.
If I didn't look exactly.
No, and that's the thing, and I love the fact you've got these retro photographs that you use to promote it and stuff, review with celebrities. And whoever does your Photoshop stuff is really good at it.
Yeah, there's a guy named Wallace McBride.
But just fantastic.
It's just like it's like everything's like 1969. He hangs out with Hefner at the mansion, but he also was Debbie Harry's roommate. He's sort of like a pop cultural Forrest Gump from the pop culture that we.
Yes, exactly.
He brokered arguments among the Ramones. He also,
he did a lot of drugs.
He went to parties in New York and woke up on Robbie Krieger's roof in Venice with Twiggy. But I love those guys. Like R.J. Wagner's a great example.
Right.
That you just during the era of pre-consequences. When there was the libertine element was so strong. Sammy and that whole era of just these guys were everywhere, did everything with everyone. I just love that.
The multi-layered element of Dr. Z, I mean, and you can see it in Stand Against Evil. Just this idea that there's all these different layers at play is kind of a hallmark of your humor in a lot of ways, right? I mean, you can even look at your stand-up as being this sort of pastiche of different things that you kind of weave together. Well, that's the thing, though. It's not just a Russian meal. It's not just stuff piled up on itself. It's woven together, which turns it into this very unique thing.
Baroque would be.
So like something. How does something like Hang with Dr. Z come together? Because I mean, you've been doing this Dr. Zaius impression for years.
They all, it is like a paint. This is really airy-fairy. It's like a painting that you just keep adding things to it. And I wrote a sketch years ago for the Ben Stiller show that we never shot because we got canceled. It was Planet of the Apes, the musical, and then the Simpsons did that. I didn't write that. That was written by, I believe, David Cohen. My apologies if I have it right or wrong. But I had nothing to do with the Planet of the musical and the Simpsons before I got there, and they did a better job than I would have done. But I did have the Planet of the Apes, the musical sketch for the Ben Stiller show that was just the commercial for it coming out.
Okay, right.
And then the second bit, because you call back a sketch in the second act, was from the producers of Planet of the Apes, the musical, Dr. Zaius is Mark Twain tonight. And that's all we did. And I did it up here live at Sketchfest years later with Ron Hodgman. And then Joel Hodgson, who's a friend of mine, Mystery Science Theater, saw it on YouTube and said, hey, would you do something like that for the Mystery Science Theater thing? And I said, sure. And then Wayne Fetterman said, hey, could you do that for the Christmas show at Largo? Paul Williams, who was in one of the Planet of the Apes movies, is going to be there. And then I said, sure. And it was right around there that because I was doing all these weird events, that he, the character of Dr. Zaius, started to develop this sort of Sammy Davis Jr. showbiz thing, because the premise was always that he was an actor.
Right.
But he did a lot of things. And then the one that really cemented it was Ben Mankiewicz at Total Classic Movies saw them and said, we're doing Planet of the Apes as one of these, I forget what they're Fathom events.
Oh, yeah,
They show
in theaters.
50 movies, 50 theaters across the country. And he goes, normally I interview a star from a movie, and we show that at the beginning. Would you want to do this?
No way.
Yeah, as Dr. Z. And I went, absolutely.
Oh my God, that's
and that's really when it landed.
Yeah.
Ben Mankiewicz is brilliant. 5 stars. He knew exactly how to play it.
Nice.
He knew exactly how to surf with it. And it really, you can watch it on YouTube. It worked like gangbusters.
Nice.
And he was talking about, it was really like, Chuck Heston. Here's the thing with Chuck. I love Chuck. Chuck and I don't agree on anything.
And of course, he played it completely straight.
Right. It was 1967. It was the election, and it was an election year. And I was, of course, for Gene McCarthy. And then I became for Bobby, because everybody did. But Chuck was for Nixon, and I was like, Chuck Heston, you so-and-so, I'm never talking to you again. 2 hours later, knock on my dressing room door, Chuck Heston, I made you an ambrosia salad. You couldn't hate the guy. And I'll tell you one thing about Chuck Heston people don't know. He should wear a conical hat with a half moon and a star, because he's a wizard in the kitchen. and that's really where it kind of chilled. And then Rob Cohen, who I worked with on Ben Stiller Show and Standing Against Evil and a million other things, said, why don't we do the Dr. Zaius talk show? And it was during the pandemic, I was bored. Trying to do something. And look, what can we do that's really expensive that we will have to pay for, but it will also put us at risk of being sued? I've got a great idea. So that was the origin of the show.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
And by that time, the character was really. We did it. We told people that it was. Think of Between Two Ferns. It's not But Between Two Ferns is very assy. It's very like they shit on each other.
Yeah.
It's a lot of aggression.
Yes.
And we did it we stopped the first interview 10 minutes in. We said, this isn't working. Because I don't have that energy. I don't like that kind of stuff. I don't watch Between Two Ferns. It makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Even jokingly. I'm just not that kind of person.
Yeah.
So Rob just got a big piece of cardboard and he wrote Sammy and put it right out of my eye line. And that was it. It's like, perfect. And then it was all, you, this guy, I can't do it without you. And then it was just like, we got it.
Yeah.
We got it. We got the algorithm.
Once you get that formula down, it's just like...
Yeah, and then I just watched the second season with Dave Foley, and I'm going to be honest, I watch it, it's like I've never seen it before, because
That's funny.
I don't know what I'm saying.
That's funny. I was going to ask, how much of that stuff that you're just pulling as you go, based on the moment?
All of it. The monologue jokes we write, but no, the interviews just
The other thing that
But I don't even remember, like I was saying stuff to Dave Fuller that I didn't remember saying.
That's funny.
Like that. People don't understand. I can't do it without this guy.
Yeah, I do that.
I need vitamin D, A, V, E, fully every morning.
Well, that's like an improv show. When I do improv, I can't remember anything that happened on stage, right?
Yeah.
The other thing that sells that piece in particular is the makeup is alarmingly impeccable.
It is exactly what they had in the movie. Some guy named Andy Schoenberg who works for KNB Effects that does Walking Dead and everything. Every Quentin Tarantino movie you've ever seen, and these guys do it. It's exactly the only thing different between what Maurice Evans wore and what I'm wearing is the glue is better.
Yeah.
There's a new kind of surgical adhesive that they use now.
Yeah.
Where they just had spirit gum. They could pull it off their face at the end of the day. I can't.
Really?
It has to be painted off with acetate.
Oh, wow.
It's really on there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
But it really does help sell it.
That's it.
It's amazing.
If that didn't work, the joke wouldn't work.
Yeah. If it was a monkey suit, it wouldn't.
It was just a bad mask. That's all you would see.
Yes.
It's the fact that no, that is Dr. Zaius. that's the thing that, and he dresses like like Johnny Carson in '69.
Yes.
When Carson wore turtlenecks and scarves.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's all that.
Yeah.
It's all that.
It's great.
Yeah.
Is there a kind of level of perfectionism in the stuff you put together?
Yes. Yeah. But only I notice it. But yeah. But if you saw the notes that Rob and I give to the editor for Z, it's like I feel bad for that.
Really?
We open every interview with our apologies. Yeah.
But even something like the podcast, do you kind of get in the weeds with stuff?
I edit them all.
Do you?
Yeah, I don't do the final assembly, but I edit them down. And I'm doing the Joyride album right now too.
Oh, okay.
So it's a lot of especially with stand-up and things like that. Like, if a word doesn't need to be there, I don't want it there.
Yeah.
And I'll cut it out. I will blow up the track and cut it out.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's it doesn't do anything for anybody but me. but that's fine.
And was that always sort of an element of, even when you were just doing stand-up before you got into any other kind of things, was your stand-up as particular in terms of its assembly?
Yeah, but what I found with my stand-up, I started doing it in 1982 when I was 17. And around 1985 or 6, I started to get into the idea of doing what I thought was funny and not just doing my version of George Carlin stuff.
Yeah.
And that was always darker, weirder stuff.
Yeah.
Like I like horror movies and weird cult movies, and I like, I was not my tastes were mainstream. I liked punk music and new wave music, and I didn't like Springsteen. I didn't like Springsteen. I liked Tom Jones. I liked Elvis Costello, and I just started to drive my comedy in the same area. Like I was just talking about stuff that I found interesting and that I found funny, and a lot of it, unfortunately, at the time, was very dark,
right?
Because I was going through an emotional growth period that was painful. Because I was raised in chaos. So I got tagged as like the dark guy, the depressed guy. And I was at the time, but I'm not. I mean, it's just not who I am at all. But what I was doing was I was doing what I thought was funny. And as I got healthy, I still did what I thought was funny. But I would probably have ended up being a lot more successful and famous had I never done that and just used my skill set, which is pretty solid.
Maybe,
although it would be more mainstream. Like if I had gotten married early and had kids, I might have if I had gotten my shit together and got married early, so I might have been like a Jim Gaffigan guy.
You might not have become a stand-up.
Yeah, well, I mean, after I was a stand-up.
Right.
Yeah. I might have become a Jim Gaffigan guy. Not a knock on Jim, I love Jim, he's brilliant.
Yeah.
It's whatever you do. Just when people ask me for advice, I just go, do what makes you laugh. They'll come along.
Yeah.
Or we'll find a way to make it. We'll find a way to get it over to them.
Yeah, otherwise you're just doing what somebody else is doing anyway, and they've probably been doing it longer than you and better than you, so.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, that's all.
Yeah. When you say you were sort of raised in chaos, what is that kind of reference?
I was the only, I have 4 older brothers, 2 parents, and a younger sister, and with the exception of my younger sister, who was literally a child, I was the only non-alcoholic in the building. So it was, yeah, it was, there was nothing stable. It was loud, messy, and violent all the time. And there was just and I did not, I just stayed out of the way until I could leave.
So was comedy sort of an escape for you on a certain level?
Yeah, I think so. 100%. It also got me out of, I grew up in a little town in Massachusetts, and it motivated me to get out and go to Boston, which was a big, scary city that terrified me because I was from suburbs.
Yeah.
And I was raised to believe by my dad that, cities are full of people of a certain ethnicity that were waiting to kill you. And it's all we ever heard.
Right.
So why wouldn't you believe it?
Yeah.
I've never heard another version from anybody. It took a long time before I realized, no, this is fine, this is great. This is where I want to be.
Yeah.
I didn't really have a relationship with my dad until I was in my 30s.
Wow. I think that's, I don't want to say typical, but I've certainly heard that story before. I mean, my dad was pretty, kind of a normal guy, but my sense of a relationship with him, I think it's almost you have to kind of go around a certain corner in your own life where you go,
100%.
okay, now I can talk to you.
Yeah, what year was your dad born?
He was born in 1930.
Same. So it's like...
That Depression era kind of thing, World War II, yes. And my dad was in advertising.
Oh, wow.
He was the sales manager for TV Guide, Northern California.
Yeah, your dad was Don Draper.
Yeah.
But it was just that generation of guys that weren't demonstrative. And, my dad said once, we were home when I was married, we were home with the baby, and I was putting a diaper on her, and my dad said to my wife at the time, if I had 6 kids, I've never touched a diaper.
Like with pride, right?
Yeah. And my wife said, whose house that wouldn't go over well in? Mine. and then I thought later, I was like, that's sad. That's sad. Yeah. It's just like, I have babies, but I never got to know them. That's a shame.
Yeah.
Babies are great.
Yeah, for sure.
But he's 91 now, and he's still going. And I think he knows he made a series of ginormous mistakes.
Yeah.
I think he does. He doesn't talk about it. But he's certainly mellow. Was your dad still with you?
No, he passed away almost 20 years ago.
Oh, you got young?
Yeah, 72.
Smoker?
No, just didn't really take care of himself. Didn't exercise, just, I don't know, had some, I think there were probably some congenital things that just didn't take care of and stuff like that.
Well, my dad had a stroke a couple of years ago because of this drug he was taking called Vioxx.
Oh, yeah.
Rushed through.
Yes.
They found out later, it gives everybody heart attacks and strokes.
Oh, jeez.
But he recovered from that, still drinks. My mom has dementia and lives in a nursing home.
Oh, that's tough. My wife's mom is getting there. It's tough.
Yeah, and so my dad lives alone, and when I went to visit him for the first time, I thought it was going to be like about Schmidt. The place was just going to be a disaster.
Yeah.
spallets.
Really?
Yeah, it's like a barracks. Yeah.
Was he in the military?
He was. Gets up, dirties a tray, dirties a dish, washes the dish, dries the dish, puts the dish.
Some of that military muscle memory sticks with people.
Yeah. I was never in the military, but that's what I know.
Well, I don't want to hold you up. I know you got stuff going on.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I do. I'm just literally going to go back into my little hovel and sit until showtime and edit. I'm doing album notes, podcast notes, writing a movie.
Wow.
You'd think I'd just be doing the thing that's paying for my year.
Right.
I'll get to that.
Yeah. No, I do a half a dozen things constantly, and I have a full-time job.
Harder to hit a moving target.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So you're working on a movie, you've got the podcast. Podcast comes out regularly?
Working on a movie, podcast comes out one a month.
One a month.
But it's 2.5 hours long.
Yes, the Dana Gould Hour.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cinemorph every Monday and Wednesday at danagouldbulletin.com.
Okay.
Season 2 with Hangin with Dr. Z starts February 14th,
Nice.
2022. The movie will be at some point after that.
Nice.
And there's...
Joyride's available right now.
Joyride's available now, and there's one or two things I can't talk about yet.
That's okay. That's okay. I appreciate getting the chance to catch up with you. I think we last saw each other in Mill Valley like 6 years ago.
Yeah, Robin and Rick were there.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. So it's good to catch up with you. Appreciate it.
I can't believe it's been that long.
I know.
Yeah.
But thank you very much, and good luck with everything. And I'll have appropriate links on the blog piece that goes with the episode.
Super cool.
Excellent.
Now turn that off. We can talk shit about people we know.
You can find all the pertinent links for Dana's wonderful stuff up at succotashshow.com. Hopefully the next time we do chat it up, it will be in quieter surroundings. Before I get out of here to go dig into some turkey and stuffing, or maybe leftovers, or maybe go get a high colonic, let's quickly dip into the tweet sack. These are the names and handles of the folks kind enough to mention at Succotash Show in their social media streams. Some of them anyway. I get the feeling I keep missing people every time I do this, but we'll keep trying to get everybody listed in here that we can find week to week. The guys over at Wheelbarrow Full of Dicks, Dr. London Smith and Cameron over at the Jock Doc Podcast, Misfit Scully, Dr. Collision, Blaze Retweets, I Finally Watched, El Hummingbird, Blood and Black Rum, History of Bad Ideas, Salty Language Podcast, Rick Overton, Fascination Street, Never Explain Anything, B3F Podcast, Carrie Weinhold, Hunter Block, Peter Kim, and the Let's Chat Podcast. That's it for this installment of the Comedy Soundcast, better known as Succotash. Thanks again to my special guest, Dana Gould. If you'd like to ream me out for the lousy audio quality of the chat this week, feel free to drop me a note at marc@succotashshow.com. I will try to do better. Have yourself a scrumptiddlyumptious Thanksgiving, or at least the after-feast leftovers. Tyson Sainer is taking a well-deserved extra week off next week for some holiday family fun, so I will be here for episode 281 and a selection of comedy soundcast clips. Enjoy yourself, wear a mask if you're somewhere that calls for it, get vaxxed, if you eat too well, demand Digel, and if anyone asks if you've heard anything good lately, won't you please pass the Succotash?
You've been listening to Succotash, the comedy soundcast, with your host, Marc Hershon. Brought to you by Henderson's Pants and... Imagine your company's name right here. Rate us and review us at Apple and Google Podcasts. Find us on the web at succotashshow.com, on Spotify, on Stitcher, on iHeartRadio, on YouTube,
On SoundCloud.
and wherever fine soundcasts are streamed and or downloaded. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Succotash Show. Like us on Facebook. Email us at marc@succotashshow.com. Or call into the Succotash Skype line at our toll call number 818-921-7212.
That number again is 818-921-7212.
You can also upload clips from your favorite comedy soundcasts directly to us using our direct upload link at hightail.com/u/Succotash. Succotash is produced and engineered by Joe Paulino through the auspices of Studio P Sausalito, the home of the hit. Our hosts are Marc Hershon and Tyson Sainer. Our musical director is Scott Carvey. Our booth assistant is Kenny Durges. Succotash is executive produced by Marc Hershon. Until next time, I'm your loyal booth announcer, Bill Haywatt, reminding you to please pass the Succotash. Goodbye. This has been a Succotash Patch production.